I'm forever blowing bubble. Oh, we're live. Here we go. Welcome to the United Stand. This is your evening, of, depending where you are in the world, could be the morning, afternoon, whatever, but this is your dose of the Fan Forum. It is not the Therapy Forum this evening, which is absolutely sublime. As you will see, I am joined by Waka Jordan Valleys. How are you, sir? Are you well?
I am good. I'm good. I run it on fumes,
Good
but
man.
when we pick up 3 points, it makes life a lot easier.
Yes, and we hopefully will have Alex Cavani joining us at some stage, but we are here to react to Manchester United beating West Ham 1-0. A goal from Marcus Rashford, an absolute bullet header. He does it again for Manchester United, which is really good at the minute. Rashford's certainly in contention for the England squad, but I think there's loads of positives to take for the game. West Ham certainly give it a great go towards the end of the game, and if it hadn't have been for David De Gea, it could have been a different story altogether. And it's fine margins with Manchester United. Lisandro Martinez, I thought, was absolutely fantastic. Same with Diego Dalot. That is something we'll get into later on the show. We'll obviously select our man of the match. Welcome to everybody in the comments section as well. I just want to say that at the end of this show, the last 10 minutes, we will be doing a Q&A, which is your opportunity. It doesn't have to be a super chat. It could just be some random comment you throw in. You can throw that in, and if it's selected, then the panel will answer that question. But Jordan, we're getting to the game. I'll ask you your thoughts on it. I mean, I've had a brief bit of a say, but we certainly will get into this. We'll pick at the, what you call it, the meat on the bones or whatever. We'll get into it and dissect the game, as we always do here on the United Stand. And what are your overall thoughts on the game? Do you think that Manchester United kind of not got away with it, but I mean, if you'd have said before this game, Jordan, 1-0, are you having that sunshine or what? Yeah. Would you have took it?
I think the biggest thing is that we've learned how to win 1-0 and how to not concede goals. The foundations of our performances and our wins have all come from the back. I think you could have picked 2 or 3 players from our back five to be man of the match. I thought Dalot was absolutely outstanding again today. His aerial duels and the amount that he won today was absolutely phenomenal. He didn't get bullied. And it's just the transformation of that player. It just epitomizes how far we've come on as a team.
Trent Alexander-Arnold could learn a few things from Mr. Diego Dalot. You know,
Trent couldn't lace Dalot's boots right now.
Ooh.
He couldn't. Yeah. Of course he couldn't. I'm sorry, but clip it. Facts. He couldn't. On current form, I choose Dalot every day. Martinez is an absolute beast. And then we move on to David De Gea. And you know what? I was speaking to somebody, when was it? A couple of days ago. They come up to me in the club and they were talking to me about Man United, and they were saying about we need to replace De Gea. And do you know his reason for replacing De Gea was, but the thing is, he's got no assists this season.
Oh, come on.
He's got no assists.
He's smoking, man.
Like, look, he can't get into the Spanish team and he's got no assists. Put some respect on David De Gea's name. Yeah. Those saves today were the equivalent of scoring goals. You've got to respect him. And you can see that togetherness in the squad, the way they all ran to David De Gea at the end of the game, not to Rashford, the goal scorer, because they all appreciate what De Gea brings to that team. Yeah. And it's that togetherness that you know has been built under this new manager, and we are definitely moving in the right direction. That is the exact type of game that previously we would have drawn or even lost, and we didn't. We were 1-0 up, and at times I thought to myself, well, do you know what? They are growing in the game. I know we're going to get onto the substitutions and stuff a little bit later, but I did feel like he sort of set up shop to protect a 1-0 lead rather than go on and try and score a second goal. But still, I didn't feel like we were going to concede. I don't know about you, Kev, but I just still didn't feel like we were going to concede. And that is confidence that has developed this season.
Yeah. SK Super Chat has just rattled in. Credit to Eric Ten Hag and the fullbacks getting more crosses. It means Rashi and co get more expected attacking crosses in live games only way we get better. So thank you very much for your input there, SK. But I think that's a fantastic comment that you've said there on David De Gea. As the song goes, everywhere you go, you always take De Gea with you. And it is so true. And I mean, that person you've said that's come up to you at the old DJ booth or whatever and said, get rid of it. Because he's not had an assist.
He's got no assist.
Is that where we're at now with modern football, man, and these goalkeepers? I know that Alisson and Ederson, are in a different league when it comes to your modern day goalkeeper, and this is what people want. But for me, David De Gea has really, really stepped up. Really stepped up. There was a couple of times. There was one instance in the first half where De Gea's out the traps and out of his area, and that is unseen. And for me, it's testament to David De Gea. At his age, they always say that goalkeepers do seem to get better later on in their careers. And David De Gea, I think, I don't know whether there was criticism, wasn't there, Jordan, of people saying that maybe Erik ten Hag might not fancy De Gea. He might want this kind of tiki-taka goalkeeper that can play out from the back. But the save from Declan Rice today, I mean, you are talking seconds left. West Ham on another day, if that rattles in, and they could have been quite happily walking away 1-1, and we would have been so disappointed. We'd have been here. This wouldn't be the fan for him. It would have been therapy for him. And we'd have been going absolutely mental. And it's the fine lines in football, like you say, Jordan. And that's where David De Gea has been absolutely sensational for Manchester United. And you can see that he is adapting his ways to suit what the manager is asking of him.
Yeah, 100%. There's only a handful of keepers in that league that could have pulled that save off. And I said it at the beginning of the season when we lost those first two games, and a certain member of our group was like, he's got to go, he's not good enough, he's not this, he's not that. I was like, listen, first and foremost, the most important thing is you want your goalkeeper to be able to make saves. I understand that the distribution and the evolution of goalkeepers, so on and so forth. But if you're asking David De Gea to do something that ultimately he is not comfortable with, like you're asking for mistakes. You can see that he's gradually growing into what is being asked of him. But ultimately, he's never going to be the sweeper keeper that Ten Hag eventually is going to want. We know that. But still, that doesn't mean he's not one of the best goalkeepers in the league. And, on today's performance, and I don't want to just talk about De Gea. I think we've got to talk about the back five because they're just so solid. Do you know what I mean? Like it's great to see. Great to see.
United 95 has now fired in a super chat. So thank you very much for that. And said, Maguire, man of the match. Absolutely superb. Bullied everyone. Now
He's trolling us. He's trolling us.
We'll just put that one to one side because we will get into the man of the match a little later on. And surely there's a hint of sarcasm in there. I don't quite know. I don't think Harry Maguire would have been in the top 4 or 5, 6, 7 Manchester United players out there. But we'll talk briefly on team selection. Going into this game, Anthony not on the bench. So obviously Elanga come into this game. Now I say obviously because Sancho wasn't included in the squad. What did you make of Anthony Elanga today, Jordan? Because from my point of view, yes, he's not getting as many starts now under Erik ten Hag as maybe he was under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, but didn't really set the game alight. If we're going to be, I don't want to be too brutal on a young sort of prodigy that's coming through at Manchester United, but you have to call it for what it is. And he did seem to be a bit of a passenger in the game, a bit of a spectator, a ghost, whatever you want to call it. And I don't think he's really done himself any favours if he's looking kind of long term and after the World Cup to try and get into this team.
Yeah, do you know what? I'm not going to hammer him or throw shit at him. He's a young lad, and he was brought into the team last season where we didn't have many options. But I'm going to say something, and it'll probably divide opinion. For me, I think Elanga needs to go out on loan. He needs to go out on loan to a Premier League team somewhere where he's guaranteed to be playing a number of games. Also, I feel like he's just a little bit paperweight. Like it's almost like he needs to bulk up and just be a little bit stronger, a bit more upper body strength. I just felt like he sort of, like you said, just coasted through the game and didn't really have any involvement. And that's not his fault. I thought it was a bit of a curveball with Ten Hag starting him. I would have thought if he was going to start anyone out of the two, it would have been Garnacho, because I thought he was lively the other day and definitely offered us more of an attacking threat. But I think maybe he was he went with Elanga because of Elanga's ability to get back and help the fullback out. But for me, I don't know. I just think he was forced into the team last year, wasn't really warranted, showed some nice touches. But I would definitely in January look to send him out on loan to get some experience.
I think that's it could be best for all parties involved there. There's a super chat just come in from Nihal Rao. Hope I've got your name right there, Sunshine Mate. But he says, "Hi guys," in like capital letters. I think that's like shouting, is it? "Hi guys, I really enjoyed seeing Rashi's heading." Which is
this Rashi line, right?
Yeah.
Like is it ever going to be dropped now? Is that it? Is he Rashi, you know? Like, yeah. I'm not comfortable with it. It gives me the ick. Like, it's Rashford for me. I'm not going to call him Rashi.
Yeah. Well, if you take the R off that is actually my nickname. Kevin Ashford, everyone calls me Ashy. So
Ashy, Rashi and Ashy.
Rashi and Ashy, there you go. Here we go. Dabuj. Hopefully I've got that one right again as well. Eric Ten Hag in post-match gave David De Gea as a great goalkeeper. Listen, I think we know that David De Gea is a fantastic keeper, and we'll get back to the team selection. The other one, Jordan, you called it midweek when I last spoke to you on a United Stand kind of show, and you said that Harry Maguire, the man with the massive head, would be in this game and he would play, and he did. What are your overall thoughts on Maguire? Do you know what? I will say one thing, man. The guy takes a hell of a lot of stick. Obviously, Gareth Southgate was in the crowd. We've got this England thing. If you're obviously not an England fan, I'm not either, to be honest. But from an English perspective, apparently he will go to the World Cup as long as he's fit. He needs to be playing. He's played a game today, alongside Martinez, who for me has been absolutely unreal at Manchester United. What were your thoughts on Maguire? Do you think the fact that he's not had game time, that kind of told today? And, you know, like, where are you at with Maguire? Do you think he's done all right? Has he done bits?
Look, first of all, any man that can put up with the amount of criticism and stick he gets, you got to take your hat off to him. It can't be easy. But ultimately, he is our third, possibly fourth choice centre-back. And the only thing that is saving him is the fact that he was granted the captain's armband under a previous manager, which he was allowed to keep on to this season. Ultimately, that is the only thing that is saving him. He just doesn't offer that back five enough to warrant a first-team place. And there's going to come to a point, probably after the World Cup now, where he is not going to be starting week in, week out. He's permanently going to be on the bench. And I really do believe, and I'm going to call it now, next summer, Harry Maguire leaves this club.
Ooh. Clip that one up.
Yeah.
Where does he go? Who's going to take him?
I think he'll end up at Everton, a Newcastle. Listen, let's make no mistake about it. He's not a bad defender. All right, he is a bad defender, but he's just not the right defender for us. The way that back five has evolved, and the higher line, and the relationship between Varane and Martinez. If Varane isn't available, we need to bring another centre back in that is a younger version of Varane, not Harry Maguire. And the drop off in our back five is huge when we see a Varane, or when we see a Maguire come in or a Lindelof come in. Lindelof not so much, but for me, it's just a confidence thing. The ball goes to him and he's stiff as a board. He's literally like a human ironing board. And it just, if it doesn't fill me with confidence, so you can imagine the players around him. They're used to seeing Rolls-Royce Varane And then all of a sudden, Harry Maguire gets in, he's stuck in the mud. And I don't want to throw shade at the guy because I don't think he had a bad game. He just didn't have a good game. And ultimately, I just think that he's going to find himself permanently on the bench for long periods of the season. And I think he's going to have to make a decision on whether he wants to be an active playing footballer or if he wants to sit on the bench. And I'm going to put it out there now. Next summer, he leaves the club.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with a player like Harry Maguire, if you spend that kind of money on him, Manchester United are certainly going to have to take some kind of hit on him. And that will ultimately come down to Erik ten Hag and a decision he has to make. I think it's quite refreshing at this moment in time that Manchester United it seems to be a team that's getting picked on players that are performing. And I've mentioned many, many times that to have that connection back with the fans, we spoke about midweek, rival fans dissing the kind of Casemiro, roaring, and it's an outbreak of emotion in a game that we always should have got something from.
Kev, you know on that point, I said he probably celebrates like that if he when he gets his poached eggs right. Somebody tweeted me a picture of a poached egg with Casemiro's face in the middle of it.
Quite like it.
The guys in the comments are undefeated, guys. Keep doing your thing. Love
it. And brings us nicely into the Riddler, who's in the old super chat, says, I love what you guys do. Keep up the great content. It is Diogo Dolo, by the way. Diogo. Somebody's trying to pick me, Kev, up on his pronunciation. Listen, I just have to say it as it is. There is another one here from Fozzie Adnan, who says, hello from Singapore. Hello, Singapore. This team is growing, definitely. The players are buying into Ten Hag's type of football, which is vital. Great to see them fighting. And that brings me beautifully into something that I was just ready to touch on, which is the connection back with the players that we have there. And I love all that. I'm not being a passion merchant or anything. Jordan, you've just said earlier that Manchester United win a game and, they're not running to Marcus Rashford, who scored the winning goal today, scored his 100th goal for Manchester United. We will touch on that in a minute. But the fact that they are running to David De Gea and they appreciate that. Football is a team game. And the unity at Manchester United, we are not used to this. We're used to the likes of Paul Pogba coming off last game of the season, the Stretford end arguing with him, the same with Jesse Lingard. These players have kind of gone now. That's just two players that spring to mind, but there's definitely been a disconnect, hasn't there? With the previous team between the fans and that. And when you've got somebody like Martinez today, I seen Lisandro Martinez today try and go shoulder to shoulder with Antonio. And it was never a duel he was going to win. But by God, that guy is a terrier, isn't he? And this is a guy, Jordan, that was written off at the start of this season. Written off. Too small, they said. He can walk under a table with a top hat on. He'll never get on the Wicker Man because he'll be just under the height line where you can get on the Wicker Man at Alton Towers or whatever. But he has been, would you say he's been the catalyst for the season so far? I know I have said Christian Eriksen has been the best signing, but I'm willing kind of to start changing my mind on this one. Though.
Yeah, listen, the level of disrespect he had when he came into the team and he was signed and certain people were calling him Rey Mysterio and all sorts. Like there was absolute no manners about some of the disrespect. But what he's done has completely transformed that back five. He's give us a snap and a bite to our defending that we've just completely missed for a long time. But ultimately, it was never enough to just bring one player in. And this is the thing, like over the last sort of 18 months, like when we brought Bruno in, Bruno lifted the team, but there wasn't enough. You needed 2 or 3 players to come in and galvanize that whole first team, the whole 11, and put current first team players onto the bench. And that's exactly what's happened now. Because you look, McTominay came on, Fred came on. These are 2 players that played every single game. Harry Maguire's came back into the team because Varane's not in. So straight away, 3 first team players are now bench options. And that's exactly what needed to happen. So it's the whole transformation was Eriksen coming in, Martinez coming in, and Casemiro coming in at the same time. That's what made the big difference. But we brought in infectious characters that made other players around them go, if he's playing with that level of passion and drive, then I've got to up my game. And he epitomizes this evolution under Ten Hag.
Yeah. Neptune E Super Chat said, last match would have been a lucky draw. I think it means, or they, whatever, mean last season. I will take a lucky win any day. Great to see. That
wasn't a lucky win.
That wasn't a lucky win. I mean,
that wasn't a smash and grab 93rd minutes job.
No,
I see people in the comments going, "Oh, the second half was terrible. It was this, it was that." Listen, there's no easy games in this league. You're going to have moments in games where the other team are going to put you on the back foot. But can you hold your nerve and can you grind a win out? Can you win 1-0? And that's exactly what we did. You're not going to roll over every team 3-4-0. There's going to be games where you're going to have to take a 1-0 win, and that's what it was. It wasn't uncomfortable for me.
And that's where we're at. I mean, Manchester City, would you have, on your Super Six or whatever as a prediction yesterday, would you have them down to beat Leicester 1-0? I'm sure nobody's saying that they were lucky and they got a lucky win yesterday. Manchester United, you have to look at defensively today. And the defence, as you rightly say, has been absolutely ripped up. It is unrecognisable from last season. And a major part of it is Martinez, as we've touched on, having Varane, that Rolls Royce of a defender playing alongside him. Luke Shaw now has upped his game because he's seen the threat from Malaysia. So he's like, right, I want to go to the World Cup. I'm upping my game. And I love that from Luke Shaw. I think he's unplayable at the minute. And as harsh as it is on Malaysia, Luke Shaw walks into that team. As long as he is performing at that level, he will be kept on his toes and he'll be in there. And the major one, as we have previously said on here, Diego Dallo, if I've just pronounced that wrong again, somebody will get in the comments, the old comment police, and pick me up on that one. But he has been easily, would you say he's the most improved player under Erik Ten Hag at this moment in time? There are players that have stepped up, they've improved. You can see that what's working on the training field is definitely rubbing off on the players on the pitch. But would you say Diego Dallo is definitely head and shoulders above the most improved player at Manchester United?
Yeah, If we're not talking about new signings coming in, we're just talking about players from last season and how they've evolved this season. I don't think there's anyone that comes close to Dallo. I think he's really, really stepped his game up, more so from a defensive point of view. That's where for me he was shaky and suspect. But he's a beast at the moment. Like it's mad that I'm even saying it, but he is a beast. And if he wasn't in the team, I'd be majorly concerned.
Wan-Bissaka, cost 50 million. Now I know that's under the previous regime, and that's where Erik Ten Hag is quite rightly, to take a step back and say, well, I didn't buy this player for 50 million. He is not for me. And at the minute, Diego Dallo is doing the business. It is an absolute no-brainer. I understand that Wan-Bissaka is injured, but even if Wan-Bissaka gets in, from what I've seen at his time in Manchester United, unless he absolutely brushes up, like say Luke Shaw has adapted to that and he's willing to fight Malaysia for his first team place, Wan-Bissaka is another one that would surely be, looking to leave Manchester United if you've got any ambition to play football. And it can't be a long move. He's a player that's worth 50 million. I'm not saying he's worth it now, but these are the kind of players now that this comes from the mismanagement of Manchester United. We've mentioned Harry Maguire. If Harry Maguire had cost Manchester United 5-10 million, I'm convinced, like you've just alluded to earlier, that he won't be here next season. I'm convinced he wouldn't even be at Manchester United now. They would have just written that off as a bad debt, right? See you later. It's the cost of these deals that have been involved that I believe that the people that are running this club are looking and thinking, we're going to look a bit daft here. They look daft anyway, and they are stupid, but it's a kind of pride thing, isn't it? It's like, we can't just give these players away. But at the end of the day, they're going to have to. They're going to have to take a hit very shortly because Ten Hag has proved with the signings that he has made, and every one of them has been absolutely spot on, and that they have all improved Manchester United.
Yeah, he at the moment every signing hasn't missed. He's every player he's brought in has definitely added something to the squad, and let's hope that continues and he gets back again in January. As for Wan-Bissaka, I'm going to put Wan-Bissaka in the same bracket as Harry Maguire. If it's not done in January, I think next summer both of them go. I honestly feel like the Ollie chapter of signings, marquee signings, by next summer will be gone, and we'll be in phase 3 of the rebuild in terms of 3 transfer windows. And I think they'll just cut their losses and have to move these players on.
Well, here's a question for you. Super chat from XXXXXZ.
What?
Fantastic YouTube name, that. Really put a bit of imagination into that one. Loving that. Said, do you have the feeling like we need new bench players instead of Mick Fred? For anyone that doesn't know what that is, that's McTominay and Fred put together. Mick Fred. When they enter like subs, we drop whole LVL. There are more dangerous attacks in the league. We will not always get away with a win. Jordan, do we need more bench players? I will say one thing, actually. Looking at that bench today, and listen, Anthony wasn't there, Lindelof. Not that a likes of Lindelof would have made a huge difference really today, but it's really down to injuries, isn't it, Jordan? You look at that comment, and the bench has been one of the surprisingly strong things at Manchester United. When you've got a fit and firing Martial on the bench, Anthony, there's other players, Donny van der Beek, very rarely getting any kind of minutes. There are other players there, and there's certainly options to bring on at Manchester United. But as you said there as well, Fred and McTominay are fast becoming squad players at Manchester United, aren't they? Because Casemiro and Eriksen are just different gravy. Oh, love gravy, me.
Literally a different level. And that's exactly what we've been crying out for 18 months, wasn't it? I remember when I did my demo tape to join the channel, and I was saying then, we need to sign 2 midfielders because those 2 midfielders are not good enough and they need to be on the bench. And 18 months fast forward, and that's exactly where we're at. And that's how it should be, because we always said that we felt like they could offer us something, but we shouldn't be in a position where those 2 players were starting week in, week out with no competition. And I'm happy for them to be part of the squad. I feel like they can offer something. Speaking to a good friend of mine, a United fan, and he's saying to me about Fred, he calls Fred a fizz man because he comes on and he just fizzes about the pitch. And I was like, it's the perfect description, because he actually doesn't really offer anything going forward, doesn't offer anything going back, but he just fizzes in the middle of the pitch and he's an option to make a pass to. And that's fine in certain games like today, when you're looking fizz man, when you're looking to close out the game, you bring the fizz man on and he becomes an option and another body in midfield. I feel like McTominay can offer a bit more, and he did show that at the beginning of the season. But again, I just want to say something. Those fans that were, hammering Casemiro and saying McTominay needs to start over him and all this nonsense, and you can't drop him or whatnot. And I said about the ceiling. I said the ceiling that Casemiro can offer to what McTominay's offering us now is completely different. Like, hang your heads in shame for those fans that were honestly saying, like, Casemiro shouldn't get in the team and we should keep playing McTominay. McTominay is a bench option and can offer us an option in certain games, but cannot be starting week in, week out.
That wasn't a little dig at Charlie from the United stand, was it, by any chance, Jordan? No.
Hey,
here he is. Alex Cavani, how are we, sir?
Good. So sorry for the delay.
Good, man. No, you're all right.
Hectic.
Better late than never. The Riddler has come in again with another super chat. Must have more money than sense, man. Says, unfortunately, being on the stock market is a double-edged sword. You get more income, but have more financial responsibility. If players are listed as assets, they have an obligation to make profit. So, yeah. Alan Kennett as well has said, good players adapt and learn. De Gea, Dalot, and even Rashford, so many players stagnated over past 3 to 4 years, which is a really good comment. But now that we've got Alex Cavani in the house, we will ask him very quickly. I'm taking it you've watched the match, mate.
Yeah.
that really helps when you're on a fan forum. Do you know what I mean? You certainly have to watch the match. We'll ask you very quickly. We are building up towards the end of the show. The last 10 minutes, we're going to do a Q&A. I'll give you warning again to get your questions ready for the comment section. But Alex, with me and Jordan, I've just been picking over the bones of it. We've had comments flying in saying it was a lucky win. And we've touched on David De Gea, absolute world-class save at the end from Declan Rice, which it could have been a different score on another day. At the end of the day, it wasn't. And Manchester United won 1-0. So we're looking to be positive in that. So what were your thoughts on the game, Alex?
Well, before I sprinted out I had to pick up my missus and do a load of errands before sprinting back to this. I put out a tweet being like, if you give the criticism about them, you have to likewise give them praise when it's due. And I thought that Rashford, Maguire, and De Gea all played a key part in winning this game. And obviously, you have the likes of Casemiro, who's great, and Martinez are great, but that goes without saying. But Rashford and De Gea and Maguire always get so much stick. And I was myself worried about Maguire, especially coming in today with he isn't up to complete rhythm. But I thought, especially in the second half, he did do a lot of good things. And I don't know what the feedback has been throughout the show, if everyone else is thinking that, but that was my own view, that he did do pretty well. And
are we talking Maguire, Alex? Did you just say?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you've just missed Jordan more or less saying that he's going to be sold next season. He won't be at Manchester United, and
you've
not missed much, mate.
He's nowhere near my first choice. I like Varane. Obviously, is completely different level, and Martinez is. I'm just in love, but the fact that we have no choice now, and it's going to be a constant theme throughout his entire Man United career with Varane, that we're always going to have stages like this where we're going to have someone come in. So whether you choose Lindelof or Maguire, I understood why in a game like this, when you had Scamacca and then later on Antonio, why we played Maguire over Lindelof as well, because from a physicality standpoint. But then likewise, you have to kind of think, okay, does politics play a part now that you haven't got some world beater like Varane there? That it's easy to drop Maguire when it's for Varane or for your £60 million signing that you bought over from Ajax. But when it's Lindelof or Maguire, then politics can play a part. But I kind of, with that said, Ten Hag doesn't actually seem the sort of manager that would do that. I think he would actually choose it based on who he thinks is the best fit. But
sorry.
No, you go.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we'll get into Marcus Rashford very quickly. Obviously scored a great goal midweek and a fantastic header today. The ball from Christian Eriksen, Jordan, I mean, that was Beckham-esque. You put a ball into an area like that. And I said to my son at the time, because he wasn't even kind of born when David Beckham was doing that. I said, David Beckham used to do this every single week. It's the way he brings that ball down, the posture, the way he whips it in. I'm not for 1 minute taking anything away from Rashford, but from Eriksen's point of view, he's made that very, very easy for Rashford. You put a ball into an area like that, which has got that weight, it's got the right, he doesn't have to adapt his stance or anything. It's literally put on a plate for you. And Marcus Rashford today, 100 goals for Manchester United. This is a guy that he's certainly had stick over the years, the last 4 or 5 years at Manchester United. But I've always firmly believed with Rashford, it is the final product with him. It comes down to a decision-making process. We've seen it before where he doesn't pass when he should pass, he shoots. Sometimes, he gets all that muddled up. The amount of times the ball ends up in the top tier of the Stretford end and you are tearing your hair out. But on Marcus Rashford, as a performance, he's certainly got the wind in his sails. And if he continues like this, he'll certainly be going to the World Cup, Jordan, won't he? And again, if you want to touch on 100 goals for Manchester United, which by no means it's not an easy thing to do, is it, in this modern day?
No, listen, congratulations, Marcus. Somebody from our academy coming into the first team and scoring 100 goals for us. That, again, is what Manchester United is all about. We love to see it. The ball from Eriksen was absolutely sensational. But again, so was the one from Luke Shaw the other day. But as good as both balls were, you've got to be in the right place. And Rashford got himself into the right place. And a lot of times in seasons gone by, he hasn't been in the right place. So he's definitely adapted his game and seems to be developing. And I'd like to think that is Ten Hag actually being more hands-on with him and actually coaching him. We kept saying that under previous management, a lot of these players hadn't been coached and they were sort of just left to sort of just float from game to game. You can definitely see, we're talking about Delo, his game's improved. Rashford's game's definitely improved. McTominay's game's improved. So you've got to take your hat off to the manager and say that, he's definitely doing something on the training pitch. But yeah, hats off to Rashford. We know he can be devastating. I just don't think he is a number 9 and can lead the line for us. I think he played in his best position and he can score goals. And that's what you want. You want your midfielders and your attackers to all chip in with, 10, 15 goals across the season. And then you want a number 9 that gets you, 25 plus. So yeah, brilliant. Well done, Rashford.
Can I just say quickly on Jordan's point of there was a big stat going around the last week during all the Ronaldo drama about how Rashford scored at the time it was 6 out of 7. Is he on 7 now? Well, it was all but 1, okay, of his goals when Ronaldo was on the pitch, and they were saying I guess that it was the synergy between him and Ronaldo. But I think it's a more simpler point than that, is that Rashford has never been a striker, and I've always said it for England, I've always said it for United. So I feel and I only just thought of the point now, the reason he scored all those goals when Ronaldo is on the pitch is because when Ronaldo's on the pitch, it means he's playing left wing rather than playing at striker, and he's so much better from the wing. And it's when people complain about his finishing, he's never been a good finisher. So I don't know why suddenly this season people are complaining about his finisher. He was a terrible finisher in the academy. But to still, you don't have to always be Sterling isn't a good finisher, but he's still scored loads of goals throughout his career. And likewise, Rashford isn't a good finisher, but he's still scored loads of goals. It's you have to just accept some players have flaws that they're not good at. He's never going to be a Martial, Ronaldo, Greenwood type finisher, but he still scored a lot of goals just by how he plays. And he's just so much better on the left-hand side. And it's until Martial's back, and then you can have a debate about whether you want Martial or Ronaldo. But Rashford needs to play on the left. I don't want him down the middle. Yeah. He's not a striker. I've always said it for England and for United. He's not a striker.
If that is the case, Alex, as you say, that Rashford on the left, which I've got no qualms with, not a problem. You certainly not spent 100 million on the other side or whatever, nearly on a player like Antony. I'm sure Erik Ten Hag hasn't signed him to be sat on the bench. If that is the case, and a Martial is up top, or Ronaldo, whoever it tends to be, where does this leave a player that sat on the bench today, who a lot of United fans would kind of go along the lines of saying has been really, really out of form and maybe lost his way? Did he ever find his way in Jadon Sancho?
Well, Kev, me and you have been on the show together for years, so I think you remember my views on Sancho before we even signed him, because I've always said the same thing about him. When he was playing for England, that I always worry now with these Bundesliga players, and people say about Haaland, but Haaland was absolutely destroying everyone in the Champions League, and that's what kind of makes me think. I was talking to my brother-in-law about it yesterday about Bellingham. It's that on the one hand, because we were watching Frankfurt versus Dortmund yesterday, and it's Bellingham scored a brilliant goal in that, and it's I was to him, I just don't trust players coming from this league anymore, because even taking out United out of it when we have Mkhitaryan, Kagawa and players like that, it's you see Werner and other players like that. It happens so often with that league that it just doesn't seem to translate. And weirdly, the Portuguese league, which you'd think is a lower league, translates a lot better over to the Premier League. But with Sancho, I just always saw him for England against teams that would sit back against us. And these aren't world beaters. It'll be Lithuania, Estonia, or whatever. And he'd struggle. And I know that teams like you can then put like a team like a Bournemouth or something that will sit back, so you can kind of translate it to what it would be like. And he was always like average. And I didn't watch loads of him at Dortmund, but I would see like the highlights and stuff, the stuff he'd do, and the amount of space he'd get, and the same thing I'd see in highlights of Werner and Haaland and all that. But you could obviously tell with Haaland because he's so physical and quick, and like you knew he was going to translate well. But with like the others, it would always be with like so much space that you don't get in the Premier League. And Sancho is better than how he's playing, but I feel like as a fit at the moment, Antony and Rashford are better at the moment. And it's like Antony has come from, by most people's standards, a way worse league. And I think he's been better than Sancho this season. And people can feel free to disagree with me with that. But I feel like it's pretty much non-debatable that Antony's been better.
I think he's shown more. Let me just, Alan Kenny with a super chat said, the myth that Maguire is a good passer, once he thinks someone will tackle him, he kicks it long. Thank you very much for your input. I'll just say one thing. You were on about Haaland there. Tweet of the day yesterday. I can't remember who tweeted it out, but obviously it come out that we're talking about Haaland being a robot and that he's just on another planet. Obviously didn't play yesterday because he was injured. I think somebody just tweeted out, Haaland doesn't play today. He's bust a hydraulic hose in his leg. He's in the garage being fixed. You know, he'll be back next week. And I was like, if there was ever anything so true about that, absolutely.
But on that point, actually, on that point, and this is something that United actually aren't getting credit with, and I guess you could even say Arsenal to the same extent. It's like if you take away, and I know it's all ifs, buts, and maybes, but you take away that first two games, the Brighton and the Brentford game that we've all tried to push out of our mind, Maguire tax and all that. But you take those two games out of the credit, and if you actually see United's form versus City's form, there isn't actually a massive deal in it compared that they have well, it's actually probably not even debatable, the best striker in the world, and we've played the whole season without a striker. If you actually look at the form table from then and the amount of wins, and considering we've had harder games than them, that's what people are paying attention to. And because it's going to be a massive now spanner in the works with the World Cup coming up, it just throws everything out the window. But if the season was to go on for like the way it would normally do, that sort of stuff would even itself out. And we're not actually that far off City if you actually look at it.
If you do weigh that up, I think Jordan, it was absolutely vital that Manchester United got the points today. And I didn't mind how they did it. Once I'd seen that Liverpool had got beat to Leeds yesterday and Chelsea had been beaten by Brighton, I'm looking at this and yes, Tottenham scraped it. But for me, I don't see Tottenham as a threat because I think Antonio Conte will continue to play that football that is kind of dividing their fan base. And the question I think we spoke about with Charlie, wasn't it, midweek, and what was the best route for Manchester United back into the Champions League? Was it the Europa League or was it a top four finish? Now, for me personally, I just said top four finish. I said there are teams there that week in, week out, you do not know what you're getting from. And at least at Manchester United, we've got a solid foundation to build from. We can win games ugly. We can also win games quite entertainingly, and the stats are there. You know, if some people don't like stats and that, there's certain ones I do not like. I'm not a big fan of heat maps and stuff like that. But when you look at possession won in a final third, chances created, all these, Manchester United over the last kind of 5 or 6 games are well up there, aren't they?
Can I just interrupt you as well? Because I just had to Google it and I'm pretty sure it hasn't even been updated. I'm like 99% sure it hasn't. But even if it has, we still have a game in hand anyway. Would it surprise you if I told you that we've kept the second most clean sheets in the league? Despite everyone saying about the Brentford game where we conceded 4, the City game where we conceded 6. Only Newcastle and City have conceded, have kept more clean sheets than us by 1, and we have a 1 game in hand over them. So if we keep a clean sheet in the next game, with no games in hand, we've kept the most clean sheets in the entire league, despite everyone thinking we have this terrible defense and everything. Says it all.
Alex,
there's such a misconception about United this season because of those first 2 games.
The United Stand's very own Stato, Alex Stato. That's what you are, man. I am so impressed with the way that you just dug that knowledge
it's
out.
because I used to always do it on my phone, and now I've got a new laptop. I just Googled it while we were on the
Brilliant.
show.
Keep them coming, mate. Makes my job easier. Jordan, what were you going to say, sir?
Yeah, do you know what? It is interesting the run that went on, because I keep looking back to that Newcastle game, and honestly, guys, you know, as these fixtures are progressing game by game, that point against Newcastle is looking better and better. They are a really, really good side. And, you know, at the time, I was disappointed that we didn't go on to beat them. But after picking up a point against Chelsea, I know a tough game against West Ham. Yeah, I'm really confident about where this side is going. And it's nice that we're actually going into games and we just don't, you know, we're not going into them thinking, right, we're just going to lose. Like, we're competitive. And it is, Alex is totally right. It is all built from the back.
Yeah. I will ask you, actually, me and Jordan have obviously, we've been through a lot of what's happened in the match, Alex. One person we did touch on was David De Gea. The save at the end, there was the one from Declan Rice obviously stands out because it could be seen as kind of a match-winning save. And that's as good as going up the other end and scoring a last-minute winner from a goalkeeper's perspective. There was also another really good save from Kurt Zouma. Meow. I had to get that in. Just on David De Gea, Alex. Sorry. I know you laugh.
Guys, have you seen the picture on Twitter of the guy that went as Zuma and Zuma's cat for Halloween?
Yeah, I've seen that. Levels in it.
Sorry, genius.
But
anyway, carry on.
Sorry, Alex. Also wanted to say was you have. I wouldn't say be critical of De Gea in the past, but I know that when Erik ten Hag took the reign at Manchester United, we got into a bit of a debate, and you did sort of mention, didn't you? I'm not trying to set you up here or anything.
If you dare say I was on Dean Henderson's side.
No.
Okay. Yeah, then I still stand by the point I'm making. I'm just making sure that you didn't say I was on Henderson's side.
No. It was literally along the lines of David De Gea, and you said that in the future, maybe it could be a problem of the way that Erik ten Hag wants to play his system. Now, my question to you on seeing David De Gea the last this season, he's quicker off his line. He's certainly there was an instance in the first half today where he's well outside his box in no man's land, but it's effective, and it's obviously something Erik ten Hag, the goalkeeper coach, whatever, is working with him. It's working, isn't it? And for De Gea to be at this stage of his career, be taking that on board and being able to adapt his game to the modern day goalkeeper, that's testament to David De Gea, isn't it? After you see a performance like that today,
it's a really hard one, because on the one hand, I've loved De Gea for so many years. We've had him as a keeper for so many years. We've won the league with him as our keeper. And I never thought he would actually be able to adapt his game like he seems to be doing under Ten Hag in such a short amount of time. But at the same time, I think he is the highest paid keeper in the world. And I think most people would agree that he isn't the best keeper in the world. So I feel like with Ten Hag, the upcoming contract renewal will be just for the 1 year extension, I'm pretty sure. But when he's on 375k a week, I still think like he isn't really worth that, especially at his age now. But at the same time, I would have it, if it's between him or Henderson, I choose De Gea every single time. But at the same time, you have some upcoming keepers that we could choose, like that Diogo Costa at Porto, I think it is, isn't it? That everyone's raving about and that we're closely scouting. And so you have to ask, like, should we take maybe that option there? To be fair, with all this stuff, I just trust with Ten Hag's transfer policy at the moment, with how much he's basically had a hit out of every single one. Dubravka, we don't know whether it's a hit or a miss yet, because I feel like we'll go through the whole season and we won't even see him play, because the way Ten Hag's playing, I feel like even when we go into the EFL Cup and the FA Cup, he's going to be playing De Gea as well. So I feel like we won't even see Dubravka. But with De Gea, I feel like he is playing brilliant, and I would never have imagined that he would start doing this. Don't get me wrong, he's still not Manuel Neuer off his line and everything, and like sweeping like that and claiming crosses like that, but he's doing a lot better than he has done. But I feel like I was like watching him today, I'm thinking like he needs to really bulk up, really, because he's got the advantage on these corners and stuff to be jumping above all these players, but he seems to always get out muscled. So I feel like I would like to see us put him on like some regiment that gets him a bit bigger so that he is more powerful at crossing, because like I said, the goalkeeper in these situations has the advantage. He just seems to get out muscled from these advantages and gets too scared. But if he's bigger and he has the advantage, shouldn't be getting scared.
Yeah. We have got, we will fill the next 1 minute up now, ending and closing basically the match debate. We have chewed the bones off basically, or the meat off the bones off everything, I would say. We're going to do man of the match very quickly. We'll go around, all have our say on man of the match, and then we're going to go into this 10-minute Q&A. So if you've got a question, keep it clean, for Christ's sake. Do you know what I mean? It needs to be Manchester United related, and we'll try and pick out the best ones, and then the panel will respond to that. Man of the match. I was gonna say it myself, but I think I'll throw it out first. I'll hear what you two have to say, and then obviously the comment section's open as well. I'm seeing De Gea, Dalot, Rashford. There's different names being thrown in already, which shows you where we were at. I think that's great, mate, that there's not just one standout individual. At Manchester United, we've kind of been starved of this because we've been that kind of shit over the years that usually a good game, it is just individual brilliance by the likes of a Bruno Fernandes. But now you've sprinkled that much sort of quality into that team that it's no shame in who you pick, because there's so many great players. But Jordan, who are you going for man of the match today? Man United, West Ham. West Ham.
Okay. I've been thinking about this, and I would go De Gea, but De Gea's for me was absolutely outstanding today, but I've seen that from him before. So I'm not surprised. I'm going to go for Dalot because I just think the transformation of him as a player and what he's adding to that back line going forward and at the back for me is just night and day from last season. So I'm going to go Dalot.
Alex, what are we saying, mate? Who are you going for?
Well, I already did my vote on the United app just before I rushed out the door, and I don't know if the result changed because I saw De Gea when I did my vote. I didn't vote for De Gea, but he had like 83% of the votes. I'm like, okay, am I letting my heart rule my head? But I voted for Martinez because I thought, again, he was absolutely brilliant with some of the stuff, like his tackles and his passing. I will give, and I know I'll get slated for this, but from a defensive standpoint, I thought Maguire did really well as well. But I thought overall, Martinez, I just love him.
We'll pretend you never said Maguire then. I think I would agree on Martinez. Sorry, I was going to say on, what am I going to say? Dalot. I think on Dalot, Martinez, very, very close, but I think I would have to agree and give it on Dalot. There's loads of comments flying in. Again, it is mixed. Martinez, De Gea. Somebody else has said Maguire, Alex, or is that you that's on your?
I said Martinez, remember? I just said I thought Maguire's second half played well.
I'm only setting you up, mate. Right, let's get into the Q&A. We've got just literally 10 or less than 10 minutes left. I did see one there, actually, that I wanted to throw at Jordan that was quite funny, but I think it's actually passed me by. But it was along the lines of, Jordan...
Did it actually start with a Jordan?
Here we go. No, that's me addressing you, but it was from
right, okay.
Muzzy Barber said, you're going to love this one, mate. Do we need Welbeck back? Should we just pass on that one? No.
I wish I had it in my soul to be able to do a Ricky accent, but I haven't got it in my locker.
What it is, Welbeck holds up the ball. I'm telling you, Jordan, I'm telling you.
I wish I had it in my locker, but I just can't do it.
Do you know the funny thing about Welbeck? I'm sure somebody said the other day, has he even scored a goal this season? I don't even think he scored a single goal. I love Ricky. In the words of Ricky, love Ricky a bit.
It's not about goals. It's not about goals, Kev.
To be fair, the biggest debate...
Hold up play.
To be fair, this might be a bit of a controversial opinion. The biggest debate me and Ricky ever had was between Dan James and Mason Greenwood. And now if you could choose between having Mason Greenwood and Dan James in your team, who would it be? So Ricky was right all along.
Right, okay, let's move on.
Keep the comments coming in. I am trying to look here. Obviously, Ryan is working in the background, so he might throw one up on the screen. But I'm just I'm trying to have a look. There are so many messages. I mean, that was the standout one. What are we supposed to work with here, man? What is the game?
Come on, guys. Let's get these questions in these comments, guys. I'm going to pick them up.
Yes, get rattling them in. This is what happens, Jordan. This is what when I say keep the questions sensible. You know, and this is we get the absolute opposite of it now. That's exactly what's happened there. Liberties are being taken in the comment section. Jordan, what type of striker do we need next?
Yeah, I think we need an out-and-out number 9. I don't want this hybrid, player that can play anywhere along the front three. I think we've got a number of those already, and I'd like us to go and sign a goal scorer. Obviously, Ronaldo is the only out-and-out goal scorer we got, and we know that he's at the tail end of his career. We need to bring someone in that ultimately can replace him. We've talked about Rashford. Rashford's definitely more effective from the wing. Martial's fitness is a massive concern, and we also don't know where his head's at in terms of does he want to stay at the club, and he made it very obvious last season that he wanted to leave. I want us to go and sign a goal-hungry, out-and-out number 9 that lives, breathes, sleeps, and dreams about scoring goals for Manchester United.
Yeah. Alex, what kind of striker
I feel like
do we need?
Obviously goal scoring is like a big part of it, but I feel like we need like the sort of striker like how Martial is like a focal point that you like ping up or whatever, and it will stick to them and they can lay it off to the wingers as well. And like obviously goals are a big thing. I feel like with Ten Hag's system, and we've seen it already in like the 20 minutes he's played this season, Martial is literally made for the season. We saw it in pre-season. We saw it in the cameos he's had this season. And it's so frustrating. Like this World Cup is, like I've touched on already, is so annoying. I'm not even, like, even from an England perspective, remotely looking forward to it. But I'm hoping now, because he's not going to clearly be picked for France, that he can spend this time to get to 100%. And then please, God, if we just get Martial for the rest of the season, I don't have a single doubt of us getting top 4. And I think we can aim for higher than top 4 because I think he's like the perfect sort of striker we need for this system.
Leanne Reeson in the comments section. I love that one. Was it? No, sorry, just above that one. Erim said, we need Van Nistelrooy back. But I say that because... you're talking there, Alex, about, like a player that you want at the top. Obviously not Van Nistelrooy now, the man that he is now. But, when you look back at a player that you could kind of bring back, and I know there's been loads at Manchester United. You could even argue Ronaldo in his prime, if we could have that player at Manchester United. But the question before was set about what type of striker do we need? And for me, that is the striker. A Van Nistelrooy, a prime Van Nistelrooy now, 20, 21 years old, whatever. I've likened him to a Haaland. Obviously, we'll never get Haaland now because he's made the switch to that lot over Man City. But I think Van Nistelrooy, you talk about a number 9, number 10, whatever, in the area, scores goals, holds up the ball, was a lot quicker than what a lot of people thought. He would be some player, wouldn't he, Jordan?
100%.
The cherry on the top of the icing, on top of the cake and all that.
Yeah, talking about right time, right place, constantly, a knack for scoring goals. They always said about Van Nistelrooy that he'd get on the team bus and the first thing you do was check to see if his rivals had scored because he was so hungry to win the golden boot. Like, that is what I want. And I know everybody keeps going on about holds up play and pressing from the front and all this jazz. I want a goal scorer. Like, I want us to score goals through the middle, and I just don't think we've done that enough.
The thing that I'd counter with you on that, though, is like, do you not think we had that last season with Ronaldo? And I'd like a striker that does more than just scores goals.
Yeah, but I just think it was the way we had to play to get the best out of Ronaldo last season. I don't feel like with that team now. I feel like Ten Hag's got us playing better behind him so that other players are chipping in with goals. They are spreading it around. But we've now gone the polar opposite direction, where last year all the goals came through the number 9. Now none are coming through the number 9. So I just think we just need to find that balance.
That is actually something 100% that I meant to actually touch on because I was late. I completely forgot about it. I don't know if you guys touched on it. Is that always at the start of the season, it's like Ronaldo wasn't ready to cut. Or sorry, you can't even say Ronaldo wasn't ready to come into the team. This team wasn't ready to have Ronaldo in the team, because it's like people always say like, oh yeah, if you put Ronaldo in City's team, he'd have scored like whatever amount of goals, and he would have done. But United, when he came into this team under Ten Hag, they weren't ready to score these goals. But I feel like now that we're used to the system and stuff, it's actually available for Ronaldo to come into this team. And that I know he isn't firing on all cylinders yet. And if we can get him back to last season's form with this team around him, it will actually make a massive, massive difference. Compared to the start of the season, we were awful when he was in the team, but the whole team around him was awful. But now we know the system and everything. I think it will actually make a massive difference.
Thank you very much for all the questions. We'll just wrap up with this last one that is on the screen from Jonathan Story, who says, silverware this season, what do you think? What are we thinking here, man? What are we winning? Do you think we can win anything? Is realistically 3?
No, that would. Put the numbers in front of each other.
What? You winning the league a week? Go on, Beth. Go on.
2 and 1. What does it make, Kev? That's what we're winning.
Is that 21 in 23?
Yeah. No, it's just 21. It's just 21.
You've been on the Sunday Sauce, haven't you?
You posted a picture of your FPL position, and there was a certain team in the league in that position. It was called Eric Ten Hag's Champions, and there was a P and a 1, P and a I with a 2 and a 1. So you know what's coming.
What are we thinking, silverware? Can Manchester? Well, I think that the Premier League is. Listen, let's not delude ourselves. We're talking about
check the form table. Check the form table. That's all I'll say.
Oh, come on, Alex, man, get your computer out again, Jordan.
If Arsenal are in the table, to be fair, City I think will win the league comfortably. But if they don't, I think we'll finish above Arsenal.
Well, that
check who they've played. Check who they've played and check who we've played.
Yeah, that feeds into us like more or less
people
agreeing
say that their title
4
challenges, and I think like if I was betting money, City, but I think we can finish above Arsenal, and I think Arsenal could finish. Like it's going to be between us and Arsenal for 2nd and 3rd, I think so.
Well, even we beat Arsenal, so obviously nothing great, are they? Do you know what I mean? Little Manchester United, but how many trophies? Let's whittle it down. Do
how many trophies? Not what trophy,
on,
how many?
Yeah. Oh, I'm going all in now. Forget 1. I want more. No. 1, 2.
Guys, Travels, listen. Remember where we were. Remember where we were. Remember where we are, and how thin our squad is. Let's not get carried away. Let's get ourselves into a top 4 race and leave it at that. We're not winning any silverware this season, guys. We're not ready for that.
Oh, what a lovely way to end.
We're not.
I would say the Europa League, but Barcelona, Atletico Madrid, the amount of teams in that.
Well, sadly, I would say sadly, it might be sad if you've really been enjoying this show, but we have come towards the end of another fan forum. No need for the therapy forum this evening. Manchester United have beaten West Ham 1-0 at Old Trafford, and very shortly on the United Stand, you will have all the fan vlogs going up. That'll be the likes of Adam, Beth, maybe even Ricky in there saying we need to sign Danny Welbeck, and all them kinds of comments will be coming out. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Jordan, thank you very much for being part of this fan forum, mate. I've really enjoyed it.
Always a pleasure, never a chore. See you on Thursday night, and we go again.
Love that, mate. Thank you very much. And Alex, you joined us late, but it was well worth waiting for. All the stats and that. Absolutely loving that, Alex Stato.
Yeah, great to be on. I need to check when these stats are updated because I'm pretty sure those stats are wrong.
Yeah, you do that, mate. That's your evening sorted now.
They said 8 hours, remember? They said on commentary 8 hours since we conceded at Old Trafford. So
there you go.
21.
If Alex says it, then it's set in cement. But thank you very much for watching, everybody. We will be back very shortly. And nice one. See you later.